Very much. I want to welcome you all and thank you, Gabe, ASPEN team, Neslihan, Onur Bey. I mean, you did a fantastic job. You put all these things together. I'm sure the member of delegates are very happy as well. Personally, the discussions the discussions in the earlier panels was very thought-provoking. Now I have lots of things in my mind to think about on the way back to Turkey. So, as Gabe told you, I'm the coordinator of Turkey Fast Growth 25 program, and I'm working as an economic policy analyst at the Economic Policy Research Foundation of Turkey. And Turkey Fast Growth program is run by TOBB, TEPAL, and the All World Network. So Neslihan gave you a good amount of information about TOBB, the Union of Chambers and Commodity Exchanges of Turkey. So I will start the discussion by giving some information about TEPAL and the All World Network, what these institutions do. So TEPAL was founded in 2004 with the support of the Union of Chambers and Commodity Exchanges of Turkey. And on the one hand, TEPAL has like a think tank kind of activities, and on the other hand, we have like projects that we are doing with the government institutions. Our focus of interest is mainly on economic development of Turkey and the countries in the surrounding region. So we are working very closely with the regional development agencies. We are working very closely with the NGOs in the MENA countries, and also international organizations like World Bank, EU delegation, IMF, United Nations, and these sort of institutions. And the main aim of TEPAL is to enrich the information content of the public policy debates in Turkey, I can say. And when it comes to All World Network, it's an initiative that was started by the Harvard Business School professor Michael Porter back in 2007, together with Ann Habibi and Deirdre Cohen. And first, they started in the US with the inner city fast growth lists initiative. So they identified the fast-growing companies in the inner city of the United States. And then they saw that the model works. I mean, making companies visible pays a lot. And then they thought, why don't we carry this model to developing countries? And they did, actually, and quite successfully. They started in Saudi Arabia, and then they did some projects in Egypt, Tunisia, and then they decided to go with Turkey. Actually, I met with them while I was a student in Cambridge, and I said, why don't we start this Turkey? Why don't we start a similar project in Turkey? And then they said, okay, take the lead and do that. And I got in touch with TOBB and TEPAL, and they said, like, this is very, I mean, suitable for PMB activities. Partners, then it becomes a Partners for a New Beginning initiative, Partners for a New Beginning project, actually. So let me give you some highlights about these 25 companies that we announced at the end of 2011 in the second presidential prime minister summit on entrepreneurship. So these companies are have a growth rate of on average 200%. So and between 2008 and 2010, in the same period, Turkish economy grew only by 1.8%. So as you know, these are the periods that the global economic crisis became effective on the Turkish economy. And they are coming from, these ventures are from lots of different industries: logistics, construction, manufacturing, landscaping, textiles, and these sort of industries. And which shows that actually there is no such thing as successful or failing industries, but there is such thing as successful business models. So even though an industry is in general doing bad, I mean, a company in that industry can experience very high growth. So you can think that these companies are coming from large metropolitan areas in Turkey, like Istanbul, Ankara, and Izmir. But it's not the case, actually. We have companies from Osmaniye, Kahramanmaraş, and Kayseri, which are newly emerging cities of Turkey. So when you are looking for partners in Turkey, don't just look at Istanbul. Maybe you can find some really suitable partners in other Anatolian cities as well. And today in this panel, we have two representatives of Turkey 25 companies actually. And one is PI Works. PI Works is a software company, and Bashar Bey is the CEO of that company actually. And it's an Istanbul-based company. And in 2007, PI Works got a prize from Endeavor. Was it? Yeah. And our other company is Sam Plastics, which is based in Istanbul again. And the CEO of Sam Plastics is Yavuz Bey, and his son is also around here.
He's the owner.
He's the owner.
He's not that one. The smallest one is the citizen. He is French citizen, so I will use him for the French business.
So I just said a couple of sentences about themselves. So I will let them introduce themselves and their companies, and maybe we can start. Bashar Bey, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself and your company, PI Works?
Sure. I will try to keep the crowd out. It was already tiring, so make it short. It's a technology company, complex, but I would like to ask you a question by describing my company. Has ever your call dropped, mobile call? Anybody call? Or anybody? Okay. Or you have problem accessing to online, getting internet? Okay. So we solved this problem. So there are a lot of customers, but we cannot sell you, unfortunately, because there are service providers out there, right? AT&T, Verizon, Sprint. So these are our customers. So far, we reach out 17 countries, 25 operators. We have an office in San Francisco, and then that's covering like customers like AT&T, Vodafone, Sprint, Nextel, TeliaSonera, so on. And we save about $25 per subscriber yearly for the operators. We make sure they optimize their network with available resources, meaning base stations and so on, without making extra investments. And enormous growth in the data traffic, mobile data traffic is evident, and the analysts expect by 2015 there will be 20 times more data traffic per user. So average American user right now, about 1 gigabyte per month they consume. So in 2015, we will be consuming about 20 gigabytes per month. So that's a big problem, big data problem, and we equipped to solve this problem. Our R&D based in Istanbul, Rapid Technopark. We are one of the fastest growing company in Turkey and the region.
Yavuz Bey?
My name is Yavuz EROİ'lu. We have several companies in the business of mainly packaging and associated areas. The main company which has the all-world network fast growth company, also in Turkey, and the regional one is Sam Plastic, which I'm representing here now. We are mainly in the business of manufacturing of plastic food packaging and disposables. So we are doing it, and in domestic Turkish market we are selling, and we are exporting to 80 countries worldwide, including here US. So that's a short introduction. And we have also some investments in abroad. We are the only one investing in the Palestine Authority. We have a factory in El Halil, Hebron, also.
Thanks so much. Then this question goes to both of you. Can you please tell us a little bit about what's the source of your success, especially in such a troubling time, 2008 to 2010? Maybe we can start with Bashar.
Okay. I wouldn't call that big success, but I think we are growing, and the main reason being probably as entrepreneurs like us, we would like to, even the economy is going down, and and we would like to see these things opportunity. And then, and what we believe in company, especially in the high-tech industry, there are skilled people, of course. You need to hire the best skill out of there. But that's really not enough. You need to really create the teams that have the one vision. And as a leader, you have to show the light under the tunnel. If they see that, you can really engage people and get the impossible thing make happen. So I would say it's a lot of teamwork, and we actually, as a company, we test, try, fail, and fix it quickly. That's another advantage of us, like small companies, because we have luxury to fail all the time, but we need to fix it quickly. That's what we do. Then it opens up the innovation, and when you engage people, if they can bring ideas, then I think that's one of the reasons.
What was the situation in the industry in general, in your industry, in that period?
During 2008?
Yes, 2008 to 2010. And maybe today, even today. Is it growing in general? How do you see yourself vis-a-vis an average software company doing what you are doing also?
Yeah. Mostly, actually, I would say in our industry, it's quite growing industry, but that time there was some kind of downturn, and of course the customers, like big telco operators, they would like to reduce their costs, and as part of that, that actually worked for us, because as I said, we saved $25 in average per subscriber in a year, so that's good for them, rather than investing extra equipment and so on. So we make sure that we can save you money. And we have a model called pay for performance. It means that if the performance metrics are sustained, pay. If not, don't pay anything. So it's clear for them. It wasn't really difficult. It actually was an opportunity for us.
So for us, if you're talking about the growth in between 2008 and 2010, which was the years that was accounted for this competition, was normal, because what we are serving is the food service. We are making products for the food packaging, and food packaging, which our products are not high-end value products. I mean, if you think of packaging for, we are not making the packaging for the very high-end, like something special packaging. No, it is the food packaging for general consumption. So during the crisis, we didn't face any kind of the business drop. There was no drop on the business. So first of all, I have to say that it is not a miracle of mainly our company, but it was the business itself didn't have a problem. This is straightforward. But the most important thing is that if you compare our company with the sector itself, we are growing this way, not beginning of 2008. This was, you started making the calculation from there, but if you did it before, we were also growing in that period. So the thing is, the main drivers for our growth is, first of all, I have to tell one part is the market, because if you talk about Turkey, Turkey is one of the fast-growing countries, the GDP growth. And when you know that if you are talking about growth, if you are talking about the increase of sales points and the retailers, it means that you are talking about more packaging. And the packaging growth sector in Turkey is one of the highest growing sectors in its kind. So we are talking about 14 to 15% growth each year. This is average growth. And also we are a part of the plastic industry, and plastic industry is growing very much in Turkey. The average growth rate is about 12% for the last 10 years, including the crisis. So we are one of the lucky ones, I have to tell. And now Turkey become in the plastic third biggest converter in Europe. Last year it was fourth, and it became third. Most probably at the end of this year, we are going to be the second after Germany in the conversion. So one part is that the water is rising, so our ship go up, because one part was that the water was rising. But second part, if you compare with our competitors, our company is much more faster than them. The reason is that we have a diversified strategy on our business. We make a little bit different kind of strategy than our competitors. First of all, we don't put the eggs in one basket. Although we have a production chain of food packaging, we divert it into a specific markets and give specific focuses for each of them. For example, we have a market share for the airlines. We are serving about 60 airlines worldwide. We are giving this plastic packaging item disposal. When you fly, you get a lot of products on the airplane, cups, trays, these kind of things. We serve to them. This is one part of the business. We have another part, which is, as I told you, the packaging for the food business. Like we serve Nestle, Danone, Unilever with ice cream and other kind of things. And also we have the standard disposals that we use each day, like the ones that we in our hands, plastic ones I'm talking about. So it's a separated market. This is one of the diversification that gives us a good strength in the market. The other thing is that we made vertical integration. When we are talking about this kind of products, one of the biggest costs is the raw material sourcing and raw material efficiency that you are using. Machines, we are investing for the best technical good, but also raw material, because raw material is one of the important parts of it. We put one of our companies, we invested in a new company in 2008. I think we forget to put it in your competition. This year we'll put it, and that will be, next year I will be here with that company because it grew more than ours. that company is distributing plastic raw material in Turkey. So we control our raw material. We know better than the competitors the pricing in the Far East, in the Europe, in US. So we control our cost because this is one part of our strategy that I can say. And another part is, which I mentioned today in the morning, is that we try to make innovations in business. Not big innovations. I'm not talking about rocket science because our business is not for that. We have to think simple, that we are cost efficient and we are earning from it. What we make is innovations like we make, like I said, we are the first one to introduce to market bioplastics because there's a lot of green awareness in the market. Some people want to paint their products with green. Some really look for green products. So we try to put them the real ones on the market. And it's going great. It's increasing market for us, and we were the first one to introduce. The brand names belongs to us. That's important for us. Mısır Plast, it means corn plus in English, because these products are made from cornstarch, and the name is patented to us, and people start to learn the product name with our name. This is something good that we do. Also, we do some specific products, for example, for the airline segment, to change the business class porcelain, which is getting a lot of weight to the airplane, with some specific raw materials that can be even cooked in the conventional oven and used in a replica of the porcelain. So these kind of things adds up, and this is, I think, how we become one of these whole world network companies.
Thanks so much. So turning back to Bashar Bey, can you please tell us a little bit about the high-tech community in Turkey, like the ecosystem? Is it convenient to do business in that environment, in the industry?
Yeah.
And what are the challenges?
Sure. If you ask me the same question like 5 years ago, yeah, I would say a little bit. But where we are in a technopark, there was only, when we started 6 years ago, about 6 years ago, there was only 5-10 people we started. Right now, in that area, there are more than 1,000 people, and I don't know how many companies. And the technopark like that time, only 5, 6, something like that. Right now, about 30 in Turkey. So technopark is mainly incentivized areas for tax incentive areas, so that high-tech companies who has technology, who's building something, can go and build their software, which is good. And just giving another example, maybe EMEA fast-growing companies, high-tech EMEA fast-growing companies, last 2 years, Turkish, always the first one. EMEA being all Europe, Middle East, North Africa, and top 50, we have 5 companies every year. There, of course, we need more examples, more role models, that this is what we are trying to do, so that we encourage other people they can do. If they see this guy can do, everybody, I can do that. So this is what we're trying to do, and it's happening all the time. For instance, a company called Peak Games, I don't know if you heard, but probably you're playing games. online through their platform, because they are second biggest customer in terms of customer acquisition. Actually, they in fact they have higher growth than Facebook in terms of customer acquisition. So things are happening. So I believe there are lots to do.
And it's a Turkish company.
Turkish, yes. There are a lot to do. Also, in our area, for instance, we are in the market in the top 5. What we are doing as PI Works, we are the top 5 world worldwide companies in our area, and we aim to be the market leader anyway. I think in 2-3 years we will be. So things are happening, and I'm really proud of that. And we need to do more and more stuff. And when coming back to entrepreneurship conference in the second entrepreneurship conference in Turkey, Istanbul, Vice President Joe Biden made a good comment. Why not this next Steve Jobs Turkish? Why not? I mean, we have the empowerment. We have the ability. I think it's going to happen. And I'm really excited about that.
So currently we are doing something right. So if Peak Games has a higher customer acquisition rate relative to you, after higher than Facebook yourself?
Yeah, customer acquisition speed is higher.
As far as I know, they extended their operations to Jordan as well. They have a great office in Istanbul, and now they started their operations in Jordan and in the US too. So Bashar Bey is another successful entrepreneur operating in high-tech industry, and like in the coming years, I'm sure there will be more companies that are doing great things both in Turkey, Europe, and the US market too. So Yavuz Bey, I know that you have a production plant in Palestine, and can you please tell us a little bit about that plant and why did you decide to open your plant in Palestine in such a risky market, let's say?
Okay. I think, gentleman, I cannot see him here, but he was telling that who can invest in Libya, who can invest in Syria, and so he forget Palestine. So yes, we can do it in Turkey. We are a little bit, our risk analysis and how we interpret and how we move is a little bit different than what you do in US, and because of also the relations and how the attitudes of the business. But the story of Palestine is not, I mean, is not a well-defined, and I can tell you we made a business plan and this way and that way. I cannot do that. This is not how it happened. How it happened was you know, let's start from there. Conventionally, we have always good business with Israel, because Israel is one of the good markets of the plastic disposable usage. And because of that, for years, we have been very active in the market. We are a well-known brand. It's one of the best exporting markets, Israel. So, and even in US, we are mainly this disposable market that we are dealing with is our brand.
Just to remind, yes, you are right. I mean, despite all these political tensions between Israel and Turkey, I took a look at the figures recently, and I saw that the bilateral trade between Israel and Turkey is exploding.
50%.
So the agenda
50 increase last year, not prevailed. So somebody said, Joshua said it's prevailed. It doesn't prevail. It go 50% more than the last year.
So the agenda of business and the government political parties are different.
Completely. Yeah. And so we were doing business in Israel, and by the year of 2008, what happened is that our technologies, we are always renewing the technology to be competitive. And when we have the old technology, we don't want to sell it to Turkey, because we will have local competitors, small competition coming and facing problems for us. So we thought that we should better sell these machines, the ones that we used before, to a country that still they can earn money. We can be even selling them or partnering with somebody and doing this. So our first goal was checking the places. We checked Romania, we checked Bulgaria, we checked several places. And also we thought that it's better to check Israel. So we go to Israel. They took us to Golan Heights, where the government is giving incentives, etc. But I mean, the competition in the Israeli market is too much. So if this kind of machinery, which is a little bit old, would not be going good. So what we decided is that we said this is not the right place. So we were thinking of another, and we thought that we are selling a lot to also the Palestine market. We had a distributor there in Hebron, El Halil. So we asked him, is it possible that we can do this business over there? Because we know that this kind of low-end products can go there a lot because they're also using there a lot. So they said it's interesting. We go there, we check the market, we find out that it's an old industrial city. There's possibilities, we can do the business, and we asked our partners in Israel that we are selling the goods. Is that a problem? I mean, is that a problem that we produce? We have a small production over here that we partner for you. They said no. If the price is good, why not? If you are going to sell me cheaper, it's better for me with logistics, the cheap product from here, and you can sell the high end from Turkey. So that was the beginning of this investment. But what it turned out to be is that now there's about 40 to 50. It increased now. It's good news that 40 to 50 people employed there. It's moving, and it's a small business, but it's moving. I mean, it's the biggest one in there. It's the biggest production of disposables. It's selling to its domestic market. It's selling to Israel, and it's sometimes selling to Jordan. So I know that as top at TOBB, there was a project for the partners, Industry for Peace, yeah. Industry for Peace initiative. I heard it after we made this investment, actually. So I think that we didn't know this. It was not just this, but I can tell you that this investment now, for example, it buys the material from Israel, from Carmel polyolefins. It produces in Palestine. It sometimes sells to Israel. It sometimes sells to Jordan. It's selling in Palestine. So it's a good model. I mean, it is not one of the big parts of our business, but it's one of the most interesting parts of our business. So we are happy about that. But we are also now thinking of investing in the north of Iraq, this region, because there's also high possibilities over there that we want to be there producing and changing our, this is the kind of changing our also technology. We want to change the technology again and move it to there. So we are ready to do this kind of investments, and the Palestine story come to be a good model for us. We know that where we can do what we can do. It was a test model for us, and it was successful, I can tell you.
It's a very good example of South-South cooperation, I can say. And PMB is doing this kind of projects in all over the MENA region, and All World Network is also doing fast growth rankings in the countries in the region. So, I mean, these are like very useful and beneficial things to connect business people in these countries. At TEPA, for example, like we are doing this project with the EU delegation, and EU companies and Turkish companies will come together and will invest in Egypt and Tunisia. And in the first stage, we are doing this feasibility study to identify the priority sectors. And in the second stage, we are going to organize some matchmaking events. And at the end of the day, there will be some profitable business opportunities areas that Europe and European and Turkish companies can invest together. And I'm sure like these kind of initiatives are very helpful to institutional development, institutional infrastructure development of other countries in the region, I can say. So my last question comes to both of you. Can you please evaluate the opportunities that you see available in the US and in the Turkish market?
I think maybe I can give an example how we landed here. One night I was watching Jay Leno show, and he was talking about AT&T network saturation issues. He said, you know, AT&T came up with a new application so that you can make call. So I said, I think it's time. And I asked my assistant next day, I get my ticket. Anyway, I was just planning that. Then came to border control. Then the guy asked me, why are you here? Of course, officer asked me. And I said, do you know these problems? And what are you doing? You know, this? Yeah, I know. He said, terrible iPhone. Do you think it's going to solve iPhone 4 that time? I don't think so. And then he said, oh, we need you. Okay, go. That means actually when you're determining the markets, I think we entrepreneurs, especially the Turkish entrepreneurs, should be a little bit more careful. We shouldn't just jump to any market. like for instance Middle East for us because of our roots, things like that, close relationship, and everybody thinks that's really good market. What we have seen is not really good market because of margins and doing business, taking time, sales cycles, very long. But when we landed here, I would say we have the shortest sales cycle in the US. And we had a meeting with one of the executives of tier 1 operator here. And it was actually Friday afternoon. He had his Hawaiian shirt ready to go. But I met a guy. I said, okay, just half an hour. He said, okay. And when we explain our model, things like that, pay for performance, no risk. And he said, is that Turkish confidence? So there is no really boundary to do the business here. I would say for Europe, although our business is much more higher than US, I believe there are more prejudice over there. So I suggest if you have a really unique offering, go to the markets with big pain. If there's no market, don't waste time. So I believe the technology market, especially here in US, very dynamic, and we should be here.
Yes, I agree. I mean, countries become similar to countries where they export, basically. For example, if you take a look at Turkey, and Turkey heavily exports to the EU market. Almost historically 60% of our exports goes to the EU market. And our production structure and shaped according to the demands in the EU market. And nowadays, because of this Eurozone crisis, we started diversifying our export basket, and we add some countries in the Middle East region. Let's say Iraq, Egypt, previously Syria, and these countries' share in our export basket is increasing. But the problem is we are selling basic construction materials to these markets, and since the share of these kind of basic products are increasing in our export basket, then which is something that's something bad for the productive evolution of the Turkish economy. And only we are going to upgrade our productive structure if we can achieve to sell more to the EU and the US.
Okay, I think that both ways there is possibilities, and if we look from the American side to possibilities that can be the possibilities of business in Turkey, I see tremendous possibilities. First of all, I will go not general, but I will go mainly with my business field. My business field, which means packaging and plastic and this kind of thing. So, which I'm also the vice president of Turkish Plastic Association. So I have also the numbers. I can be more precise on this subject. First of all, there's a big, as I told in the first part of my speech, there's a big developing market for the packaging in Turkey because of the changing of population, the changing of the social chains. I mean, woman is going inside more to the social life and business life. So it means that the habits has changing. I mean, there's no housewife that's making the food, you know, it's general time cooking on standard things. They need fast foods, they need quick preparation foods, you know, ready to serve. And this is all packaging. Retail business is changing, the population, everything adds to this one. So the packaging business is one of the very key players that can be foreseen in Turkey as a growing market. Also, in this one, you can see that the GDP of Turkey is growing. And GDP growth and some packaging has a relation. For example, you can easily see in all parts of the world, when the GDP of a country increases, the consumption of protein increases. Because countries with low income, they consume less protein. Countries with higher income use more protein, consume more protein. And the wonderful thing about protein that we packagers like is that it gets spoiled easily. You need to pack them in a valuable pack. And the packaging is high value pack. You should keep the color of the meat. It should be attractive to the people. It should not be spoiled a long time. It should be on the shelf. So barrier packaging, to sum it up, barrier packaging, smart packaging, these concepts are getting more attention in Turkey. And as long as this GDP continues, we will have much more attraction in the packaging business for the specialized packaging. This is one subject, and also Sam is investing on this one. My company, we are also investing in this one. We see a future on this kind of products. Another thing is, when we are talking about the disposable market in US, we see that there is branding also. You see that there is some brands that you have. Turkey, we don't have brands. So branded items also on this one. It's an interesting market that can be developed. And apart from that, now a little bit more general, is that Turkey's current account deficit. One part of it is coming from the petrochemicals industry. I told that the plastic converting industry is playing to be the second after Germany in Europe. Nevertheless, the petrochemical industry, which is feeding this industry, is catastrophic in Turkey. It's only 15% of the local consumption. The consumption comes from the local production. Rest is imported. So 85% is imported. Because of that, the government is putting a lot of protectionist precautions that there is some industry there. And this is what the US companies can do in Turkey, because it needs capital that can be invested there in Turkey. And the interesting thing, in the past, everybody was thinking that feedstock was the most important thing, so that these investments should be done in Saudi Arabia. But it's changing now. As beginning of the crisis, 2008, China made a big decision. They said, we are going to invest on infrastructure and we are going to invest on petrochemicals. They did a lot of plants in China for petrochemicals. This was unbelievable because they don't have the feedstock, they don't have the oil. And they were planning to do it, while a lot of people was trying to do it in Saudi Arabia, while it's proximity for the feedstock. But what happened is that because they have the market, it changed. Now the Saudi guys, they have problem because they have a lot of product, but they don't have domestic market. It was all meant to be exported. China is making its own product, so they want to sell to Turkey. We are enjoying the prices from Saudi Arabia, by the way, because of China. But now, the same thing is happening for Turkey. Turkey is trying to find out that if I am the second market of converting, then market is getting more important than feedstock. And we know that protectionism is getting more and more in the world. So this is getting some kind of advantage also for the companies that want to invest in Turkey, because they can make vast, diversified investments on this subject. Another thing is, I will also here refer to Mr. Ozan's report. He has a very nice report which I read and which I use a lot. And he also mentioned a little bit, the problem of Turkey, because of this current deficit, current account deficit, is because of very simple thing. It's because of the product basket that we are doing. The product basket that we are producing in Turkey is not a high-end products. So there is low margin. We import, and we put small margin, and then we try to export. That's the main thing. And the government is trying to change this. They are trying to promote businesses like this. They are trying to put more incentives, any kind of efforts that the product basket has changed, is going to a more valuable one. So, and by this one, they are very open to negotiation that even they can, if you're going to do this one in Turkey, also the incentive system change this, we are going to increase the duties so that you can earn money and continue the business. So this is also one of the things that Turkey can offer to American investors that want to do business. I think Mr. Ozan will give more expert because this is his report that I read, this is what I use. But another thing, if you look at from the side of Turkish companies investing in US. Okay, at the moment I don't think that it's interesting to invest and produce in US. If US government wants that people have more jobs here and they want to invest it, I think I'm not saying something against myself, but it needs a little bit protectionism. This is true. I mean, if you are talking about manufacturing for jobs, for example, if they tell me that, okay, we are going to let you here make some production, if you lead here some production in somewhere with the tax incentives, etc., they need to also tell me that, okay, you can sell to, I don't want to sell you only to the West Coast, I want to sell to the East Coast. So you have to protect me from the China. There's some taxes required for that if you want it to be here, if you want some products. But the best thing we can do together with US is not to invest in US, but as mentioned earlier, is that we can invest together in the parts of the world that, as you also mentioned, third countries together. That Turkey has an experience, we are easy to go inside, we have ease to work. And Joshua, while he was here, he wrote a book, I read in his CV that he's on the way writing a book about the imperial memories of countries and their relations with economy. This is about Japan and the Ottoman Empire, Turkey. So I can easily feel that in this region where Turkey was surrounded, we can easily do business because of this old relations also. That's also a positive thing. So there is the relations, there is the European Union condition that we can easily use the European market. There is the free trade agreements between the countries. So we have a huge market that we can do investments together. I think that's it that we can do with US together in this region.
Thank you very much. Now we can open the floor for questions, if you have any.
It's not a question, but on high technology area, I would like to tell you about a project that we did up in New York in May. It's a project, a non-profit project that we started as a group called TürkTechNet, Turkish Technology Network. If you go on turktechnet.org, you will find the information. We started this in last November. The idea came from noticing how much human capital and accumulated knowledge we have of the Turkish Americans living in America, working professionally in large corporations, or having their own businesses in high technology area, and how much they want to share their experiences with Turkish startups. So we formed a nonprofit group and cooperated with technology parks in Turkey. Very aggressive project. We gave 30 days application period from March 1st to March 30th. There were 178 companies that applied online who passed the preliminary eliminations. And then we interviewed them and brought them down to 10 final companies. And we paid all their expenses and brought the representative of these 10 companies to New York, put them through a week's boot camp by our technical friends who are experienced in the area, and have their business plans worked in a presentable stage. And the final day, May 25th, we brought them in front of the American venture capitalists and the investors. What was interesting is we put a short survey on the Venture Capital magazine before we did the project. And one of the questions that was asked to American venture capitalists was, how much you know about the Turkish high technology industry? Would you invest in a Turkish high technology firm? And the response we got was 3% said that, yes, I would invest in a Turkish high technology firm. After we completed the project, we redid the survey, and 50% of the respondents said that they would invest in a Turkish high technology project. So the first leg of that project is completed. We were very happy, and the participants, those 10 companies that came from Turkey, by the way, these were not at the initial idea stage. They were established companies, which had to be one of the requirements. So we are planning of continuing twice a year, doing the same thing and expanding it into different industries. And I would like Bashar Bey and other high technology people to spread the word in Turkey. Thank you.
Just two quick comments and a question. Michael Porter, your old professor, would not have been happy with the comment about protectionism, as you well know. Actually, nor would most Americans. I mean, the reality is that our markets, we actually try to practice what we preach, despite the fact there's a big gap between political lexicography, whatever you call it, and language and economics. So we would be delighted to have you invest here, because every time you invest, it creates a job here. Every $100,000 is a job, basically. Secondly, I'm struck by your remarks about Israel and Palestine. One of the things that I have found in these ASPEN forums is that the business community is on a different track typically than politics. Whether it's Pakistan, the Pakistani business guys I know deal with India. The Palestinians and Israelis I know cross the border. In fact, they sometimes cross it where they're not supposed to cross it. And of course, your point about your government versus the Israeli government and 50% growth, I think it's terrific. The business community is pretty pragmatic about that, and in the long run, that's a good thing because these create ties that bind people together and makes it harder to argue and have war. The question, and it's kind of back to this one of the title here, is challenges and opportunities. Notwithstanding whatever our business climate is and yours and everything else, if you ask most American businessmen what their biggest problem was, it would be the government, regulations, banks, not enough money, free money, not free money, but money coming out of banks for loans, et cetera, et cetera. So do you have similar complaints about the Turkish government?
No.
Or is everything perfect?
I have some.
There's a lot of things that has to be changed.
This is not Las Vegas. I'm sorry about that. I've heard that expression, but it happens in Las Vegas.
So what I'm saying is that there's a lot of things that the government has to make it better and change. But we have to be, comparing with something. If you compare with the 10 years ago of Turkey and 5 years ago of 20 years of, so we can say that it's improving, especially about the business prospect and how we can do the business, the bureaucracy. It's getting on the better side, I can tell. But there is also other things that has to be better. And for example, when we are talking about doing business, still we have the bureaucracy. Still, I mean, now we are investing on something that I saw in the morning. We bought the land, and there is some problem with the municipality's water system that something is going a pipe from our land, and we have to discuss with them. And it took 6 months for silly thing. I mean, 6 months we lost for that. So bureaucracy is there still that you have to cope with and fight with. I can tell you that this is the first thing as a business that's affecting us. And apart from that, I mean, if we get the bureaucracy out, reaching to finance, if you're a good company, I mean, it's not very hard. If you compare with 10 years ago, we wouldn't think of a credit term 10 years in Turkey. 6 years, 7 years, that was a dream. Now banks come to us and they said, okay, we'll give you 7 years and you can not pay 3 years and then you can. This is something incredible if you think from. Another thing, now the Turkish government is trying to change, slow down sometimes the economy, because it's going so great because of this foreign trade current account deficit, and they try to change the interest rates. They try to increase a little bit so that the people stop spending, etc. But it doesn't sometimes help. Why? It's very easy because we as business owners, if you look at maybe 7 years ago, 5 years ago, even I remember my ancestors, the other businessmen, we were running with 17%, 18% interest rates. So 17, 18%, now you are making from 3 to 4. It's nothing, 1%, because I still remember 17 and moving 10 each time. So this is, I can tell you that it has changed a lot. It's changed a lot. So we are let's say, we are relatively happy compared to the past. But there's a lot of things that we have to do. I mean, we are not completely happy about what is done, but we lived inside this one. I'm sure that my son will be more unhappy than me because he sees the current one. I see the old one also, so that's why I'm relatively happy.
Yeah, the challenges, as Yavuz mentioned, the bureaucracy, I wouldn't say so. After dealing with other countries, even private companies, signing up NDA with an American company takes ages, so it's NDA. So who sues each other because of NDA, I don't know, if you know that, And I wouldn't say that. But the main thing, what we are trying to, the tech companies especially, you want to have the environment, working environment, which have a different voice. You cannot have I can tell you directly, Turkish engineers working in a tech company, only Turkish entity. It's impossible. If somebody is trying to do that, stop doing it. Because as you see, you need to attract the talent all around the world. And for that, you need a working permit, right? And getting working permits, it's a bit difficult. Now they are making it easy because you need to go to university consulate, get the approvals. In one case, we spent 1.5 years, something like that. Then they're fixing it now faster, 2 months, 3 months, which is good. Otherwise, also the other way around, we want to go explore all other places, right? And getting visa, for instance, Europe, for a Turkish citizen going to Europe is ridiculous, incredible. You know, they just give for our employees like 2 months, 3 months visa, and how we expect? I mean, every time we need to take another one. I think we should do something.
This is something to blame the EU government.
Exactly, that's another round. Because it's against the competition, you know. If they want to open the doors, they should be equal to others. Mainly these things, otherwise, government is doing a lot of good things.
How's the visa process with the U.S.?
U.S. is much easier, much easier.
To get a work permit to come into the U.S. for your employees?
Yeah, easy.
So why is the problem in Europe? Since they're
Europe, I think, Europe, general problem actually.
General problem.
Yeah.
Especially with the
Because for
language
instance,
visa.
you go to US, they give generally 5 year, 10 years visa, but in any European countries giving
2
us,
months, 3
2
months,
months, 3 months, so
something like
another-
that, 15 days.
yeah.
Is it the same in Turkey though? I mean, I know tourist visas in Turkey are only 3 months, but what about the working visa? If someone wants to come in and invest in Turkey and they want to have,
You rarely ask
long-term
visa.
What's that?
You rarely ask.
Oh, they ask visas all the time. They spend it for me.
Maybe not through embassy.
Not about the embassy, but
Yeah.
customs.
Getting working visa is hard. Yeah, but it's making now they are in a progress making it easy because too many parties involved. Now they're just making less. I think right in 2 months, 3 months time you can get like H1B visa.
Or in Turkey.
In Turkey, someone,
I mean, for example, I know Rob, for example, is going to be in Turkey and he'll be doing some business there. So I don't know what your visa situation was, but I know traditionally the visas are only for 3 months.
Yeah.
And usually it's stamps, you can't work.
Yeah.
But I think it changes when you are working with the Turkish corporate in Turkey. Like it's much more easier if you have someone in Turkey actually, like if you're working with a Turkish company, it's much more easier. But like if you're going alone, like as a company, it's much more harder. Yeah.
So you need a Turkish partner.
Yeah, that would be easier for the visa, for everything, it's easier. But like with the Europe, when I went there for a conference, my conference is 5 days long and they give me a 6-day visa. So.
Right. Here's the irony. Your goods and products can freely travel in the EU by yearly. That's the irony.
I'm not an expert on like the work permit issue in the US, but I read an article written by Daron Acamoğlu, and he was writing on how US can survive from this crisis and how US can prosper in the future. And number 1 item was relaxing the work permit issues.
Well, and when you talk about visas for work permits in the United States, those of us in the technology industry, it's our number 1 issue because it's very complex and it's highly political, and and I doubt it's going to be solved anytime soon, unfortunately. Thank you, by the way. I have to leave, but it's been terrific. Thank you.
But to do business in the United States, as a business person coming in, you get a banking visa. It's not an issue with the work permits. It's not that the work permits are only for the H1 visa holders.
Exactly.
And that's an issue when we have a problem with unemployment. Whenever unemployment increases, then we are going to reduce the number of visas for visa holders coming in.
But there are visa, if you have a foreign company, you have operation here, there are transfer visas, things like that. If you want to send out people, and if you file everything well, no problem. Okay.
Can I say something? I raised my hand. You made some good points, sir, and from the sound of the way you're talking about your companies, they sound like mega companies. But however, you did not say what your annual receipts are. That's how we measure it here, by how much you make, whether or not you're big, small, or mega. And food is king in most places, even here. So the plastics business was doing well. Also, back in the 80s, I believe it was, NASA did a quote, and well, prophecy really. They said there'd be an explosion on low Earth technology. And as you know, that has come to pass too. How does your country measure up with that in terms of the low Earth technology? Cell phones, everything that goes with the little cards, the tablets and all that stuff. And again, what are your receipts annually for both companies? I'm measuring you to our companies that are similar and seeing if there's some kind of similarity.
Yeah.
Unless you're ashamed to say so.
No, we are not. I mean, we are not a private company, but we have about, I would say, maybe range, yeah, $10 million range, $5 to $10 million.
US.
So your question is very right for my company, better than Mashar's company, because we are doing something very early. We are doing plastics. We are doing in the range of $50 to $60 million revenue on this plastic items in the Sam Plastic company, and I can tell you that while the gentleman left and told about Michael Porter about his comments on protectionism, I can give another comment of him that he said just yesterday, about what he said about the business. He said that it doesn't need to be, you have to have a rocket science business with a lot of innovations, a lot of things. If you can make a unique business, some diversification, some chains, even the simplest business can earn money. So I think that we are happy about our earnings. This is important. We are better than our competition, and we are unique in our services to our customers.
Okay.
Thank you for this question.
Okay, thank you. And some of ours go from 50 to 7, but it's kind of, well, it's not so hard as it was to find a $100 million company, IT, HR, human resources, whatever, because things have changed. But thank you for your answer.
Thank you very much. We are ending our panel here. Now,
yeah, first of all, I want to thank the panelists. This is a very good, interesting. Thank everyone for staying till the end of our scheduled programming. We're going to have, you're welcome to stay here. There's still some snacks outside. Please continue your conversations and your sidebar meetings. At 5:30, we're going to have a reception at the residence of the Turkish ambassador. The address and the map is in your packets. Please feel free to go back to your hotels or do whatever you want. Hopefully, or hang out here, but we'll look forward to seeing you at his residence at 5:30. So thank you again for coming.
And can I just, as I conclude, I know it's been a long day, but I really want everybody to acknowledge the great work that Gabe has done putting together, and Sarah Howard has done putting together, and our interns. And there we have David, of course, that he's no longer even working with us, but he's still here working on this one. Dima and Ibrahim in the back there, so I just want to thank you all for